Good morning, dear students. We have already dealt with the evidences of evolution such as morphological, anatomical, vestigial organs, and paleontological evidence. Today, we are going to study the next evidence, that is connecting links. Fine. Now, what are connecting links? Now, certain plants and animals show some morphological characters by which they can be related to two different groups. Hence, they are called as connecting links. Now, what does this mean? You have already studied what is morphology. Now, certain plants and animals are showing certain characters which may be similar to two different groups. And since they are similar to two different groups, they might be said to be the connecting link between these two different groups. Fine. And so it's like they are middle in middle, and on they are come from two different groups, or they are having characters similar to two different groups, so they can be considered as connecting link between one and the other. Fine. So now let us see some of the examples to illustrate this. So this is a picture of a peripatus. A peripatus, if you see, now it has segmented body. Segmented body means it will have ring like structures on its body, like that of a earthworm. You might have seen an earthworm, right? And on an earthworm there will be certain segments present. So since segments are present, and there is a cuticle like structure. Cuticle means, if you see the earthworm is always shiny in appearance. So fine. So earthworm, it looks like an earthworm because it has segmented body. Second thing, it has like a waxy coating like that of a cuticle. And also these structures you can see, these are called as parapodia. So parapodia most of the annelids have. So earthworm also belongs to an annelid. So it is a connecting link between one annelid. Fine. You can see the picture of a earthworm over here. You can see that there are segments on the body similar to that of the peripatus. Okay, and this is called as the shining surface. So this shining surface is nothing but a cuticle. So it is also present on the peripatus. So it is showing similarity with the annelid. Now let us see which is the next organism by which it is showing similarity to. Fine. So next organism is insects. Now here I have placed a picture of an insect, okay, which is showing this type of respiration is called as tracheal respiration. Now what is tracheal respiration? Tracheal respiration is nothing but exchange of gases. That is just like how we are exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide. They also exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide with the air and with their tissues. But how is it going on? It is going on inside there are certain structures which are called as tube-like structures. These tube-like structures which you can see are also called as trachea, and all these trachea open outside the body through small holes. These are called as small holes, called as spiracles. So this is also present in the peripatus. So peripatus is showing similarity with the annelids, that is earthworm like all the organisms, and through arthropods. Arthropods are also called as insects, like cockroach or maybe some other arthropods like scorpion. All of them have the presence of tracheal respiration. Fine. Then again one more thing, that is open circulatory system. Now human beings have closed circulatory system. That means there is a heart and there are arteries and veins which are just opening in the heart and opening in the cell. But in this case, open circulatory system means what? It is open, and all these veins, sorry, not veins here, the vessels through which the blood, actually in the cockroach and all, they do not have the presence of blood. There is a fluid called as hemolymph. Okay, so you can find out on the net what is hemolymph. I am not going to detail right now about it. So what is happening here? Here it is opening into the digestive tract. Fine. Now since it is opening to the digestive tract, this type of circulatory system is also called as open circulatory system. So peripatus is showing both tracheal respiration as well as open circulatory system like that of the arthropods. Now what are arthropods? Arthropods are all insects. Arthros meaning jointed appendages. Arthropoda, poda means legs. So they have jointed legs here. So that's why they are called as arthropods. All the insects in this world are belonging to arthropod. So their open circulatory system and the tracheal respiration is present in the case of peripatus, and therefore it is also showing similarity with these two structures, that is not two structures, with the arthropoda. Fine. So it can be called as the connecting link between an annelid because it has segmented body, also thin cuticle like structure, and parapodia like organs which are used for locomotion, that is for movement, as well as it shows similarity with the arthropods by having this type of respiration called as tracheal respiration and open circulatory system. So it becomes the connecting link. Let us go to the next one, that is this is called as a duck-billed platypus. Now how this duck-billed platypus, what is the similarity, how it is a connecting link between two groups? First thing is duck-billed platypus lays eggs like that of the reptiles. Fine. So they are laying eggs like that of the reptiles, and also though they are laying eggs, they are feeding their young ones. That means they have the presence of mammary glands like that of the mammals. Mammals means all the human beings, or maybe cat, dog, all these are called as mammals because they have the presence of mammary gland to feed the young one. Okay. So it is laying the eggs but feeding the young one. Therefore it can be the similarity between two groups. One is reptile which lays eggs, and second is a mammal which has the presence of mammary glands as well as hairs. Fine. Next one, here you can see a lungfish. Now a lungfish, being a fish, though it is a fish, it performs the respiration through lungs. Fine. And therefore like the fish, it is a connecting link between a fish, and since it has lungs like that of the amphibians, it can be a connecting link between the amphibian. Fine. So lungfish shows the similarity, performs respiration with lungs irrespective of being fish. So it shows similarity between fishes and amphibians. So what we can conclude from this? So from these two examples indicate that mammals have evolved from reptiles. Reptiles means, I can give an example of a reptile is a lizard. Okay. Then even our crocodile is this reptile, or a snake is a reptile. All of them lay eggs. Fine. So they are called as reptiles. And amphibians, they are having the presence of lungs for respiration on the land. So this lungfish therefore is a connecting link between the amphibians and the fishes. So we can say together that the mammals have evolved from reptiles and amphibians have evolved from fishes, because the fishes are of a lower group, amphibians are little higher, whereas in the case of reptiles and mammals, reptiles are at a lower level and mammals are at a higher level. So this is regarding the connecting link. Now the next evidence is nothing but embryological evidence. Now first of all you should know what is an embryo. Embryo is nothing but it is the initial stage of development inside the womb of a mother, and within the human beings it is from when the baby is inside the womb of the mother. It is embryonic stage is from 2nd week to 8th week. So after 8th week, that means up to 2 months, we say that the development of that offspring is a embryo. Fine. So this is regarding embryo. Now what is embryology? Now study of this development of the embryo within before it is being born into outside world. This is called as embryological study. Now, how embryological evidence is, can be an evidence for evolution. Now, here I have placed a picture which is there in your textbook also, wherein there is formation. These are the embryos of different organisms, and if you see the embryos of each of these organisms, that is, the first one is fish, second one is a salamander, third one is a tortoise, fourth one is a chicken, fifth one is of a pig, sixth one is of a cow, then a rabbit and a human being. Okay, all of them, if you say, in their early stages of development, they show similarity. That means they must have come from the common ancestor. Fine. So comparative study if we do of all these embryonic developmental stages of various vertebrates, it is showing, vertebrates means, yesterday also I mentioned to you, vertebrates mean those which have the backbone are called as vertebrates. So all of these vertebrates show that all embryos shows extreme similarities during their initial stages. These are called as their initial stages. Later on they change little bit. Okay, now, and one more thing I just wanted to bring to your notice is that at the initial stages of development they have two things, that is, one is gill slits and second is the tail. You can see the tail over here. Fine, gill slits are not shown here, but they have the presence of gill slit. Even in the human beings also gill slits are present. So this shows that there is similarity, in all the stages, all these different types of organism, they are showing embryonic development, in the beginning, initial stages are similar. Okay, later on these gill slits or the tail will be disappearing. Okay, in the adult organism it disappears. Like for example, before it is born, these are called a fetus. Fine. After the embryonic development, the next stage is called as the fetus stage. So at this stage you will not find the tail or the gill slit. Yes, of course it is present in the aquatic animals. Gill slits are present or gills are present in the aquatic animals, but the terrestrial animals lose it. But you can see that the embryological development in the initial stages, it is similar. So, and therefore we can say that similarities in initial stages indicate that there is a common ancestry. Fine. So this is regarding the connecting links and the embryological evidences. So next time we are going to learn about the Darwin's theory of natural selection. Okay. Thank you.